GM, Artist Journal, August 24th, 2022, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, your artist reporter. I am back, and I feel like I have news. I feel like there's been there have been remarkable developments here. Not least of which is Myth showing up out of nowhere, the Myth, with this one of one. I mean, when I first saw the tweet for this last night, this beautiful work here, I thought it was a one of 250, or I thought it was like a 250 edition. So I just clicked on the link. I was like, well, maybe that 250 edition might sell out quickly. It's the Myth after all. And so I clicked on the link and I realized this is a one of one for 250 Tezos. And I was at my girlfriend's birthday party. They were all speaking Spanish at that moment. I mean, a birthday party in Berlin is basically three languages, English, German, and Spanish. And by hour 4 and 3 beers later, I was sort of checking my phone. Normally antisocial behavior, but that's just where I was at, and everybody was having fun, so I wasn't worrying about it. And anyway, so I checked this and I couldn't believe it once I realized what this was, which was a one of one for 250 Tezos. And so you have to ask yourself, like, what do you want? Do you want Bitcoin? $400 a Bitcoin? Or do you want a one of one Myth? And I thought to myself also afterwards, it's like, you look around that whole beer garden, as they're called in Germany, and there's probably, a couple hundred people. Very cool place, Brillo in Berlin, if you've ever been there. And how many of those people probably had Bitcoin? It was probably like as much as 1 in 8. I mean, a young crowd. And then you got to think, how many have this Myth? And it's 0. And that goes for the whole wide world. So that's the power of art and one of ones when you really get down to it. So I couldn't believe it. I looked at the history, and we'll look at the history here. I ran to get better internet coverage because my data had run out again. And for those, again, who think, oh, there's Pocobelli again buying another, spending another 200 or 300 Tezos, I rent. That's kind of like all I have to say. And I would rather own something, put it that way, but I don't. Okay. So I'm in the renting class. But you have to ask yourself, but I have a bit of Bitcoin, and you have to ask yourself again, do you want $400 of Bitcoin, or do you want the Myth is not a joke? The Myth 2022, nothing more to say, I know where I know where my bread is buttered, which is getting the one of one. And I'm still trying to actually figure out this piece a little bit. Like, it kind of could be bigger than I just saw Myth one of one, the clouds in the sky, a classic, and then a new composition. And I literally ran for the Wi-Fi. And then that's why you'll see an anonymous account, because I have an account on my phone that I just use for moments like this. And so I bought it there, sent it over to the Pocobelli collection. So that was awesome. I couldn't believe I got it. And this is what I wanted to show you here. This was minted at 7:20 Berlin time. An hour later, it was listed. An hour and 10 minutes later, and this is the mind-blowing part for me. I saw it at 9:20. It was listed at 8:30. Nobody bought this for 50 minutes. And again, if you want a reminder that we're early, there it is. I mean, Myth is like in the top, 3. You can make a debate about who those people are, but you could argue he's the best. But there are other massive talents in this space, so hard to say. I mean, as I was telling someone on Twitter, Rorich was congratulating me in his way. This is like buying a Basquiat to me. But I'm getting it for 400. And it's not a, it's kind of an apropos comparison, because you know what this reminds me of in a kind of indirect way? Basquiat skull painting, and even the color. I mean, this is a far reach here. Is this the best you guys can do? Is this tiny? Maybe I can. I can't believe they're doing. That's what they put on Wikipedia, like a 298 by 350. It could be the Basquiat Foundation. They might be kind of clamping down on copyrights, but we all know this piece by the skull, very famous. To me, this is like, this is like, who'd you rather? I asked myself this question: if someone offered me to trade a Basquiat, I'd actually have to think about that, and you might think that's ridiculous and hilarious in a bad way. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'd do it just for the money, and I could buy, frankly, the rest of the Myths collection and probably buy this back with the Basquiat, with the money you'd make. But then I was like, how would you sell it? How would you sell it? So, and then I'd have to talk to Sotheby's, and I'd have to talk to, and then it's so complicated, and I don't know any of these people, and now I'm supposed to trust these people, and you hire the consultants, and anyway, I'd rather just pay my little 10% royalty on this and list it myself, but I'm not, that thing's not going anywhere unless I get desperate to feed myself. So, okay, so Myth makes a drop. Now, we're back to Adelia and Louis Osborne. Now, let's just bring that up quickly, because again, these are case studies for me and kind of like the bleeding edge of what's happening in this market, because these are, again, artists that you come to very early on, and I think people are starting to move over, and we have some remarkable activity here. First of all, before we get into the kind of the big activity, so first of all, he makes a drop. When was this? Yesterday. Some interesting movement. I don't know if bots are involved here, but he puts it for $5, or 5 Tezos, I should say. At 11:31, he lists it. At 11:32, they start selling, and all 50 are gone by 11:33, within 2 minutes. So, and then it gets listed right away for 40. And I mean, what's the first accept offer of 15? So basically that person made a 3x. I mean, but now, and then you see the sales, 25, 24.50. The sales are the real numbers to me in a lot of ways. 20, accept offer of 15. So you see there's probably a lot of flippers in here who are just saying, hey, easy money. So that goes on. So he made a drop. So just kind of interesting. Now it's 20. I mean, it's not crazy, but it is an addition of 50. So just kind of interesting development on that market there. But more interesting, he was saying, and his sales again are, first of all, he sold a 1 of 1 for, I think, only $1,600. And again, this is a very hot artist all of a sudden. And to sell a really nice, actually, 1 of 1, this is one of his best works, in my opinion. This is a really nice work of his. To sell this for 1,600 Tezos, when Tezos is trading at $1.60, I mean, you're getting it for 2,300 US, let's say. And again, just if you're on Ethereum, to get a major kind of hot artist, I don't think you're paying less than $23,000. That's 10x, and you're probably paying more. So the point being, this person might be thrilled that they got 1,600, but they could probably, if they sat on it, they'd probably get way more if this keeps trending in this direction. So he sold that. There was also another move on this market, and I don't mean to dwell too much on Louis Osborne. There are so many other artists out here, but again, this is the case study, because there's also some other huge moves on this market. I was seeing on Twitter, he said that one of the moving cities had sold for 500. Look, or sorry, the balloons. See this balloon? This one sold for 200 on the secondary. Let's just look. Sale 200 on the secondary. And I think one of his other balloons, I think it was balloon, I'm sure if it was balloon 1, it sold for 500. Okay, so we are not seeing Louis Osborne cool down yet. It is ramping up. And remember, I was talking about that rampant speculation? That guy who bought for 140, he may be right and is selling for 280 for his edition of 10. He may be the right because this just sold for 500. So maybe it's not rampant speculation. Maybe it's rational activity here. But very, and then all of a sudden, with these kind of numbers, remember this went for 2,000 and that was kind of shocking at the time. It doesn't feel as shocking anymore, does it? So that's happening. And I just want to look at Adelia quickly, because again, these are kind of the gauges that we're looking at here. This is also super interesting. If you look at her activity, she's also continuing to sell like crazy here. Sold this growing up one for 29. But let me just look here. Sold for 50. This beautiful work. Sold for 100. Wow. So you're starting to see some real numbers here. This is like, again, this is 8 hours ago before I record this. Berlin Wednesday morning at 11:40. So this brings up another very important point that I think is worth mentioning here, is the floors basically on these collections, the floors loosely speaking, are very thin, okay? So it's not going to take much. Like you see what's going on with Louis Osborne. That's kind of like the beauty of NFTs in a lot of ways. Like even these PFP collections is, once the floor starts getting thin and the sentiment changes and everybody's trying to get one, these things just rocket launch. So let's just quickly look price low to high on Adelia here, and you're going to see something interesting. It's all getting snapped up. Like, so this is an edition of 764, edition of 1,000. So these are a little harder. Edition of 248 for 5. Edition of 248. Edition of 235 is priced at 9. That doesn't mean they're getting that. Edition of 50 for 10. But this is what I wanted to point out here. Remember, I think, was it last episode or 2 episodes ago, I said you can still get cheap Adelia? That's starting to disappear. And we're like 24 to 48 hours later here, folks. So now it's like we have this MetaDream collaboration, 15. Edition of 100 going for 15. These are prices, so you have to keep that in mind. But offer of 18, you can't get it for less than 30 unless you start making offers here. And, this thing, yeah, so you see 40, 40, 49, 59. The prices are rising, okay? And that doesn't mean the sale prices are rising. It's kind of a mixed bag on her collections. You see this has come down to 185, but I bought it for 95, and now that looks cheap, all of a sudden 185. I picked this up, this edition of 10, you see, for 30, which seemed expensive at the time, but I thought, I put in an offer because there was none, and I thought, this is an edition of 10, Adelia's blowing up, get it now while you can, and now people are selling for 1,000, which doesn't really mean anything, but you see now people are already offering 22. So very fast moving markets here. This was another one selling for 300 now. I think I paid 30, which again seemed expensive because I could have bought it for 7 when it came out. But anyway, it still feels like a great purchase. And again, look for these low edition numbers of 15. So yeah, that is the latest here. Junk is back on the scene. We might do a little focus on him. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to keep it short. Oh, let's just look at RJ. RJ is back again, and edition of 5, I was lucky to pick this one up. And this is, let me just look at the title and then we'll expand it again. This is After Liechtenstein, After Van Gogh. So Roy Lichtenstein, let me just bring it up. People were commenting on how they like the traditional art contextualization, which me too, and I'm glad you like that. So let's not leave that unattended here. Roy Lichtenstein, Van Gogh's bedroom. And yeah, so you see, and of course, another tiny image from Wikipedia. And let's also just look at the original Van Gogh bedroom. Because why not do a little art history here? Oh yeah, this masterpiece. I'm not sure if this is at the Van Gogh Museum or in that big Impressionist museum in Paris, whose name escapes me right now. It's in one of those two, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it says here. This is in Amsterdam at the Van Gogh Museum. Okay, so here's the original. The photo does not do it justice. Even on Google Arts and Culture, here's the Liechtenstein, and then here's the RJ. So he puts his trademark screensaver laptop in there. So I was thrilled to get one of these. Only 5 Tezos. Flexosaurus bought a few of them here. He bought 3 of the 5. So yeah, so another cool work by RJ. Really happy to see him back on the scene because he is an awesome artist in my opinion. Yeah. So anyways, letting the good times roll here. I got another birthday party tonight. We're kind of ending summer with a bang here. Let's see if Super Rare's working. I thought maybe it'd be fun to just quickly show you. Yeah, Super Rare's not working right now. I was going to show you my Genesis piece, but we'll leave that for another episode. Other than that, actually just news on the, people are calling it a vlog. I guess that's what this is. Quick news just on the numbers. We're up another 3 subscribers since yesterday. The numbers are picking up. We got some nice comments on, I think the last, from Diego Barro, who's a totally cool dude. Find him on Twitter. He posts some nice art too. Great, Adrian. You're really adding something to the community doing this video. Keep it up and no worries about numbers yet. This is happening. So much appreciated, Diego. And, final sort of comment on that is, I do wonder if this, how much is, and we got a sale. And you know who it was? This is actually important. It was the Myth who bought it, who bought the TR909 sketch, the last one. And this is something also that I want to mention is it doesn't get any better than this, folks, where, one of your favorite artists on the whole ecosystem is buying your work. As far as art scenes are concerned, does it really get any better than this as far as scenes and where that sort of thing is happening? So that's totally awesome. Thank you, Myth. Thank you, Diego. And thank you to everybody else who is watching and subscribing. I'm going to keep this short for you and for me. And with that, that's this week's episode. We will see you next time. Until then, take care.